I love Mondays with Mike Heller.
Broadcasting live from an undisclosed bunker in the Badger State, this is I Love Mondays with Mike Heller. Powered by determination and a little bit of duct tape. Here's your host, Mike Heller.
So here we go in on a Thursday. So excited about all of the things that we get to talk about today. And I wish good morning to Mike. Not me, a different one. I think that's Mike up in Merrill. Good morning, everyone. He says on the way in, we get it started. I've got to react and recollect our thoughts a little bit from yesterday. I had Greg Gard on the show yesterday, and I thought it was a fantastic interview. I thought he was a fantastic interview. That conversation, very frank. And let me rebuild a couple of moments from it because I think these are important. Whether you are a fan or a critic of Wisconsin basketball, or you pay attention to the college basketball landscape and college athletics as a whole, the conversation yesterday with Greg Gard was very frank, very transparent, something that I think is terribly missing from college athletics right now is transparency. I think of it as transparency as it relates to dollars spent on players and programs. I think that transparency needs to happen. When I asked Greg Gard yesterday if they were in the top half, or I said top half or top third of the Big Ten in spending, he said they were not. I asked if he thought they would be in the top half in next year's spending, and he said he wouldn't bet on it. He's very grateful for the spending they get and the dollars that come in from boosters, fans of the program, those with the wherewithal to do such things. Well, one of the things I think that there's a misconception I would like to put out there is that the revenue share makes a difference. The revenue share just locks in dollars that you know you're going to have. So let's say Wisconsin, I think the Big Ten last year was at $20.5 million, and the bulk of that's going to go to football. I don't know the exact number, but let's say it's 18 or 19 that goes to football, and the rest is going to be split. Men's basketball is going to get a pretty good chunk of that, of what's left over, and then the rest of it gets divvied out. That happens at all 18 Big Ten institutions. If they choose to spend that money, that is TV revenue. That is the shared pot of money that comes to a school that they're allowed to then spend on players. That's equitable. That happens across the board. It's the money above that that is different. And it's different at Indiana. They didn't make the NCAA tournament. It's one of the teams that Greg was talking about, one of the top four spending teams, didn't even make the tournament. He didn't say them, but let's make that leap assumption that was Indiana. We don't know the dollars, but when I asked, and I didn't get specific, but when you're talking about Michigan or Illinois or Oregon or Ohio State, or, because you can interchange these as to football, basketball conversations and in on spending, Greg said they are not top half in the Big Ten. That was a pretty simple answer for him, too. He didn't have to think about it. Now, when I asked him about next year, he said he wouldn't bet on it. That's just the conversation that's real about a program and their efforts to be really good. I've said this a lot over the years. Some people don't like it when I say it, but Wisconsin basketball is in a really good spot because they have a hell of a good coach and a great staff with it. They have great facilities, the Kohl Center and their Nicholas Johnson Pavilion. They don't lack for facilities. But what they do lack is the upper echelon dollars that it takes to go get a player. Now, I'm going to say specific players, and I don't know if they were in on them at the end or not. But going to get 2 years ago at Con Knippel is a significant investment. Wisconsin didn't swim in those waters. They were in on Con Knippel. They were part of the process. But financially, I don't believe that they touched the level that Duke and Alabama was also there at the end on Knipple that they did there. You could go back to Tyler Hero. Now, that is before the approved overall spending in the NIL era, or it's right on the cusp. Let's assume that Kentucky paid and that Wisconsin wasn't in those waters financially either. In order to make steps, you've got to approach that area. And I think that Wisconsin is a really good program, incredibly well led, but they are a touch out of keeping pace with their neighbors. You know, keeping up with the Joneses is a real deal when it comes to college athletics and recruiting. You've got to keep up on facilities. You got to keep up on pay. And Greg was saying yesterday that he's not naive enough to know that, or to think that his players' agents, and they all have them, weren't shopping his players all season long for next year. That's the agent's job. Sometimes the agent is out for himself. Sometimes he's out for both himself and the betterment of the athlete, his client. Either way, for the agent to do their job, they got to reach out to the emissaries of other programs and say, what's the value for you, for me to bring you this player? And that's what every college coach is fighting. I thought the other takeaway from Greg yesterday is he paraphrased Tom Izzo by saying he really loves what he does for a living. I mean, Greg's a basketball coach and a teacher. He loves what he's doing. And right now he hates the industry because it's upside down. The tail is wagging the dog, and there's no guardrails here. There's no fences. There's no control. It's messy. College athletics is messy across the board. All right, so I want to touch on that. And if you didn't see the interview, please subscribe to I Love Mondays, the podcast. You can do it at YouTube. You can do it wherever you download your podcast. We go live on X every day at 10 o'clock. He was a really good interview. So hopefully you go take that in. And then one other note that I want to get to before I thank our sponsors. Ed Policy, the Green Bay Packers president, spoke earlier this week when he was interviewed. And one of the things that he talked about is, from the Packers' perspective, the thought of firing Matt LaFleur, he said, was absurd, laughable even. Quote, Matt is a teacher. He's a natural fit. Just watching him develop players as individuals, and then more importantly, develop those individuals into teams over the last 7 years. Very impressed with him in particular at the quarterback position. He went on to say, quote, I think he's the winningest. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. In his time in the league as a head coach, I think he's the winningest NFC coach and the third winningest coach in the NFL in those 7 years. Quote, frankly, the fact that I was being asked if firing him is even an option at this point, I was a little bit shocked by that. Close quote. Let me touch on that quickly, and then I'll get sponsors and bring in Vinny. General managers, head coaches, team owners, team presidents — Green Bay doesn't have an owner, but the president serves as one — when they are asked by the media, it is not their job to tell us the truth. I've been doing this since 1988 in television or radio, that I have been in the sports world, almost all of it in Wisconsin, other than 3 years in Memphis, Tennessee. So I've been doing this for 38 years. My math is right. I learned a long time ago that you get the quote you get. You run the soundbite, you print the quote, but you can read between the lines. It is not their job to tell you the truth. When Ed Policy says that, I don't think he's lying that he never considered firing Matt LaFleur. I think it does no good to say, yeah, we gave it some thought. Who wins when he does that? He is spinning it to the direction that the Green Bay Packers want it talked about, that the president never thought about not retaining Matt LaFleur or Brian Gutekunst last year after 5 straight losses to close the campaign. is silly. It's laughable that he didn't consider it. But I'm not bothered by his quote. That's what he has to say. What is he going to do, by the way? When Ed Policy is asked, did you consider making a change at head coach? What is gained by him saying, yeah, we thought about it? Nothing. So when he said, quote, frankly, the fact that I was being asked if firing him is even an option at that point, I'm a little shocked by that. No, he's not. But he is doing his job as president, de facto owner, president of the Green Bay Packers. He's doing his job the way his dad probably did it, Carmen Policy, and the right way. I heard a show in the state saying it's crazy that he never thought about, he's not doing his job if he didn't think about making a move. Come on now. Don't be hot take radio on that. If you're discerning enough as a listener, you see right through that crap. When a show host says, I think it's terrible that he never thought about making a change. Really? You don't think he thought about making a change? Come on now. Crazy to me. All right, let's do this. I got new sponsor graphics. Why? Because I got a new sponsor. One Community Bank is now a presenting sponsor, a modern, progressive, and forward-leaning bank focused on serving clients, supporting colleagues, and investing in our communities. And in this case, they are investing in a community. They're investing in this community. You, my listeners who have tuned in and are subscribers to I Love Mondays, the podcast. Yesterday, we set record numbers on people who downloaded and watched our interview with Greg Gard. And yesterday, of all of the shows we've done, all 23 of them, today's number 24, that was the most listened to and downloaded podcast I've had. So One Community Bank was in well before, we're doing that. But they're investing in community, and with that, I say thank you. And when I do, I'm also asking you to consider doing your banking with One Community Bank. If you're not already, I would give it some consideration. That's what I ask of you, is to support the sponsors who support us. Our I Love Monday program is presented by M3 Insurance. Go to m3ins.com. It is a company that also believes in what we're doing and trusts this partnership. M3 leverages digital product and program solutions to protect and serve clients across the country. They equip you with tools and guidance that you need to confidently navigate the insurance and risk management decisions that you're making. Go to m3ins.com. Our show is presented by Neuroscience Group. In sports, you trust the right team for your health. It's no different. Neuroscience Group brings together specialists in neurology, spine, and pain management, working together to get you back at full strength. Go to neurosciencegroup.com for all the information you need there to get yourself back in the game. And also presented by Habish, and Rotier, 13 locations to ensure you get a hometown attorney who understands your life and the impacts of your injury and is personally committed to your recovery. That's Habish, and Rotier. And presented by Potawatomi Sportsbook and Casino. Bet above the rest with Potawatomi. It is where you go to bring in our guest today, Vinny Rottino. He joins us on the program, and when he does, it is always presented by Potawatomi. And there, I get to hear Vinny too. Look at that. I love that jersey. Is that, I don't remember seeing that. Is that Ben? Have you had that up there for a while?
You know what? Yeah, Mike, the Team Italy jersey that I played for Team Italy in the WBC in 2009 has been up there. I think I've configured my camera a little bit differently now so that it's in the shot. So
it looks really good. Yeah, I mean, everything looks really. What's all behind you there? Okay, we got the number. That was your number 10.
Yep, and then
multiples of those, or is that your only one?
No, I do. I have different. I have the home away. I have the practice jersey. Yeah, so that was the most fun I've had in my 14 years playing professional baseball. That was the most fun I had playing for Team Italy in the WBC. So I think a number of guys have talked about that, of how special that experience was.
Yeah,
just playing for the country. of my ancestry. So, and then this picture right here, let me see if I get, point that. That's my grandfather with Mickey Mantle. My grandfather was brilliant. Apparently it skips a couple of generations. So he was a research physician in New York City. He worked at a hospital called St. Vincent's Hospital in the Bronx. It no longer exists. That's what I was named after, actually. The hospital that my grandfather did his research at. You look up in some medical journals, my grandfather actually pioneered the cure for Hodgkin's disease. Kind of crazy. No kidding. He started that. Mickey Mantle's dad and uncle both died from Hodgkin's from working in the coal mines in Oklahoma.
Oh,
right.
Gosh. Yeah.
And so he donated to my grandfather's research. That's that picture. And then a couple other pictures of, Uke signed this one here. And then this is my first game broadcasting in the booth in San Francisco. And this article right here was Maggie. And so is my wife, Maggie, and I were in the same article. And we never met each other at this point, obviously. And we're in the same article. And in the middle, unrelated, it says good decisions. And right across the top in an unrelated artical. So we're like, we got to frame that. And so, we tracked that down.
That is fantastic. All right. So are you on this road trip?
Yep.
Oh, you are?
I'm going to Kansas City and then Boston. Yep.
Okay. So they leave later today.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Which is great when you have a day game on getaway day and then you don't have to get away. I mean, for the players, I mean, you've lived that life. For the players, what a great way to, they got 6 days at home, which they really had with the 2 exhibition games, Monday and Tuesday. They really had more than a week at home, about 9 days to get situated and settled. And then even yesterday, after finishing a day game, they don't leave until this afternoon. That's a good thing for the players.
It's great. And they have a day off every single week for the first 8 weeks of the season or something crazy. And so, yes. And remember last year, Mike, how much of a grind their month of April was. Remember, they went right from spring training to New York, and then they didn't get home for a couple of weeks. It was a grind. They didn't have a lot of days off. So 100%. This first day off and then fly out later tonight and then well rested. And then especially coming off these great this great homestand. Wow, 5-1. It was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, we'll jump into that in a moment. Thanks, Dan. Great conversations over the last few days, and one that we're just starting with Vinny. And again, for those who are listening and watching and have enjoyed, please share, because that's how we grow, and that both helps us and our sponsors, and we get even better guests. I mean, having Vinny do this every week is fantastic. Earlier this week, we talked to Tim Dillard too, back in Nashville, and being able to do those things is really cool. I was talking, Vinny, before we get into the opening 5-1 start. I like you live the life every day, the baseball life you have for a very long time. And I opened the show the other day after being at the ballpark on Monday. I opened the show on Tuesday saying it's just my favorite thing on the planet from a professional standpoint, to be able to walk around, 2.5, 3 hours prior to the game and watch the work being done on the field and watch guys take batting practice, have a conversation with Matt Arnold, visit with Matty Erickson. 2 days ago, I was talking to him about the drill he's doing with using racquetballs and soft hands right in front of the dugout. I mean, you live it. I love the days I get to live it. It's such an amazing thing, this game of baseball, to be around.
And we're lucky, Mike, to be able to be around the game at the big league level with this team in our backyard.
Yeah.
I mean, we really, and I don't think anyone, and what's cool about this state of Wisconsin and the Brewer fan nation is I don't think anyone takes that for granted. I think everyone kind of understands, like, we are super lucky to have a big league team. And to have guys like the Matt Ericksons of the world, the Pat Murphys of the world, the Chris Hooks, like these guys in the coaching staff, like these are blue collar type of Wisconsin feel type of people that are leading this thing. And Matt Arnold can be in that group as well. I mean, and if anyone ever has an interaction with Mark Attanasio, that he's kind of the same way. I mean, you can have a conversation with Mark, and it's like that Midwest type of feel. So, yeah, I mean, the people leading this thing and the fact that we have this team, this stadium right in our backyard, we are so lucky. And I love that no one takes it for granted.
Yeah, it's really cool. All right, let's talk about who they are. The Brewers are 5-1 right now, lead the division by 2 games over everybody else in the division. They're also plus 28 in run differential, which is tops in all of Major League Baseball. This is their offensive ranks, and then I'll touch on one statistic defensively that will tell you all you need to know. The Brewers' offensive ranks, they're first in Major League Baseball in runs, 4th in hits, 7th in doubles, 5th in home runs, 3rd in walks, 8th in fewest strikeouts, 1st in stolen bases by a long shot, 3rd in batting average, 1st in on-base percentage at 378. I want to talk about putting pressure on another team? Have an on-base percentage above 350. They're at 378. I know it's 6 games. They're 3rd in Major League Baseball in OPS at 825. They're also defensively, through 6 games, have not committed an error. And it's extraordinary. Yesterday, they took advantage of Caminero. Did he have 3 errors yesterday?
2 and 3.
First. So they put pressure on a defense, and that's where I'm going to start. A year ago, the Brewers had the worst defense played against them of any team in Major League Baseball. There were more errors committed by the opposing team in the Brewers games than any other team in baseball. And that is really, Vinny, I think a product of the pressure that they put on other teams with their speed, with putting the ball in play, with fewer strikeouts, all of those things. Are you a proponent that they didn't get lucky, that they forced that issue, that teams don't play well defensively against them?
It's not even an argument on my side. I mean, you can't measure this for sure. You'd have to go into the psyche of every single player that they're playing against. And it starts with the pitcher on the mound. You have to face a guy, and you have to face a whole lineup, 1 through 9, of guys that are willing to, and I love the quote that Sal Frelick said, although he did get it from Jason Lane.
Yeah.
They want to drag a pitcher to hell. That's what they want to make the pitcher feel like. What an amazing quote. And you can even feel it, that's what the pitcher is feeling after facing the lineup for the Milwaukee Brewers 1 through 9. What does that mean? It means this guy is executing a great pitch and they're fouling it off, executing another great pitch and fouling it off. So what other sport do you not get rewarded by doing your job consistently over and over? It's baseball, because you're facing the Milwaukee Brewers, fouling pitches off. So the opponent's defense sees that, feels that from a pitcher. The pitcher's feeling stressed out about this. They feel the pressure. Guess what that does to the fielders? That's something psychologically that, I mean, I think everyone kind of understands that, but I lived it. Like I could feel that behind a pitcher that's really working, facing a tough lineup, and now all of a sudden, I better make this play to help my pitcher. And then the play's not made. That is 100% what is happening here. Last year it happened. They scored the most unearned runs against teams. The Brewers did. And now all of a sudden you're seeing that again. 3 errors from Caminero. Now Caminero is not going to end up at third base. Probably going to end up as a DH. He's only 22. Yeah. But still, it's still, even great defenders, the Brewers are doing this to. And it is such a fun brand of baseball to watch. That now we're on the good side of this, but it's got to be infuriating to watch if you're an opposing team's fan watching this, how this plays out for the Brewers.
As I was kind of putting numbers together today, you can go down the whole lineup. What Joey Ortiz has done. If he just played defense, like if he was just a shortstop and he hit 150, I think I'd still start him in 155 games if he just played the way he plays defense, because there's a level of defense that he plays that is extraordinary. And he's next to a platinum glover to his left in Bryce Terang. And the Brewers have always seemingly had great center field play. Vinny, when you talk about up the middle defense, and I'll begin, didn't mention, but behind the plate, Contreras is a great defensive catcher. You look at that up the middle defense, that's where it all begins in most sports, and certainly in baseball, and they're extraordinary all the way up the middle.
Yeah, and it's lockdown defense. You cannot get a ground ball through the middle of this infield unless it's a rocket with those two guys playing up the middle. And Joey Ortiz, and I know Pat Murphy continues to sing his praises. And look, I try to think, now that I'm on this side of things, on the broadcast, on the media side of things, I try and think about, okay, Pat Murphy said what he is saying, and he continues to say what he's saying about Joey Ortiz. Now, why is he doing that? Like, I try to analyze why is he doing that. Is he doing that so the fans get on his side, maybe, or is he doing that for the player? Is trying to maybe through the media give some confidence to the player? And I don't think he's talking in hyperbole whatsoever about Joey Ortiz's defense. Right. I'm with you, Mike. I mean, this is as clean. So there's some guys that play defense that like make the unbelievable play. We see that from Elly De La Cruz. He will make some of the best plays you have ever seen. He's the shortstop for the Cincinnati Reds. And you're like, your mind is blown sometimes because he's got a rocket for an arm. He's got unbelievable range. So, but the routine play goes right underneath his legs. I think he led the league in errors last year. So Joey Ortiz will make the routine play and somewhat medium tricky play look so routine and so easy and almost boring. And then he does make the unbelievable great play, the double play that he started in the hole from the seat of his pants with Bryce Terang against, I think that was the
second series. Yeah. So it was
the first game.
Yeah.
So that's what he brings. He's so fast from glove to hand with the transfer. I could watch it on repeat over and over. And I think what's cool, and again, the Milwaukee Brewers fans appreciate that level of defense. And I think and not because Pat Murphy's been singing his praises. I think the Milwaukee Brewer fans are starting to understand what they do have in Joey Ortiz at short. And that's cool, right? Because it's subtle and it's not the sexy, home runs and high OPS type of a profile. I think he'll be better with the bat. He's already off to a better start. He's going to be better with the bat. But the fact that the Brewers fans appreciate this level of defense and what it does for the pitching staff, I think that's cool that they understand that.
Let me switch off baseball just for a moment. Mike wanted to know what you thought of another state basketball championship for St. Cat's.
Oh, big time. I mean, yeah. How many now? It's like, I think 8. I think it's 8 championships since they switched over from WISA to WIAA. Yeah. And I love it. Go Angels.
Pretty good. Yeah. So you weren't in the booth on Tuesday night for CB Buckner's miss at first base, but just give me you were in the press box. Give me your reaction. And Murph did, and I asked Murph because I asked him first about the challenge on the Terang rundown and the tag. And I came over and asked you guys, was that about interference? Because I think that's what Terang was pointing at the shortstop for, was the potential for interference, but it was actually just the tag and the ball popping out. I asked Murph about that post game, and he said the home plate umpire did a great job explaining what their call was, and then asking Murph if he wanted to review it. The umpire gave them the option. Then I followed up, and I thought Murph did a great job. I followed up and said, what about the other review? And he said, I'm not going to criticize that or talk about, what Buckner did. But Vinny, I mean, it's the one thing that players and baseball people won't tolerate privately, even if they won't talk about it publicly, is somebody not doing their job and then doubling down, not doing their job by trying to make a call on something they didn't see. If you didn't see it, you can't call it. And Buckner didn't see that Bowers stepped squarely on the middle of the bag. And the reason he didn't see it is because his eyes went to where the ball went. But then you can't make that call. I'm just wondering what a baseball guy, a lifer like you, thought of that moment and the reaction to it.
It's tough because CB and again, you hate to kind of speak a little bit disparagingly about his abilities as a professional umpire, considering that he had a health scare yesterday. Hopefully he's okay. I mean, no one wants to see him get hurt, obviously. Right. But it really can't happen, Mike. And that's kind of a cliche thing to say in the dugout. You heard that term and that phrase said over and over and over. That can't happen. It really can't. You can't not be present with what you're tasked to do here. It is simply to watch the runner's foot step on the base or not. That's your job as a first base umpire. There's no other job when there's a play at first. And he wasn't there. I've never seen an umpire not be there. And then to not be there, and then, like you said, to actually make the call, because it's a pretty blatant call. Like missing first base. If you weren't there, then just err on the side of, okay, usually they touch the base.
I did not see him miss the base, so I can't make that call. But he heard the first baseman say he didn't get the bag. He never hit the bag. Tag him.
Yeah, that's not good. Not good for CB. And he has a history of this. So, he's got to, especially with the ABS. So what the ABS system, and I know, Mike, you and I have had some good conversations about ABS, and I'm a fan. I actually love it now. I love that the crowd is into it. It has been, and this is in AAA, it has been holding umpires accountable. And so their zones get better. They've actually improved in AAA in terms of strike ball. They've really improved because of the ABS system. So hopefully guys like CB, and there's not that many of them that make bad calls consistently, and CB's one of them, quite frankly. So hopefully his game gets better because of it. So we'll see.
Yeah, it kind of has to. We had out at Fantasy Camp, Rock brought in Alphonse Marquez to visit with all of us during one of our lunch breaks in between games. And I thought he was very revealing. Nobody talks to umpires. They're not available to the media. They're not interviewed after games. You don't get to know what makes them tick. Marquez said that one of the things he was worried about with ABS is that he takes incredible pride in being right. When he makes a ball strike call, that's because that's what we're talking about with the ABS coming in. And he said, it scares me a little bit because every time I make a call, I think I've made the right call. And he goes, after games, we'll go in and look. And he goes, if I'm off by a little bit, it will bother me. If he was off, if an outside corner pitch that he was calling a ball all night, when he looks back at it and sees that they were strikes, it bothers him. So here they get reviewed, and I think it can hold them accountable. Let me give you the opening weekend stats. You may have seen these from the first weekend of the ABS. There were 175 total challenges. This isn't up to date through 6. This was the weekend. 175 challenges, 94 were overturned, 81 were confirmed. So not a terrible number. Catchers had a 64% overturn rate on 92 attempts. The hitters only had a 42%. They were right 42% of the time. The umpire was right the other 58%. And pitchers only tried it 5 times, and they were 4 out of, I think they were 40%. So they were 2 out of 5 in their attempts. Your reaction to it now that you've seen it in for a full week of games, and does it endorse that you were a fan of it going in? Are there, many times there are tweaks. Should there be tweaks? Do you like it?
I like it. I do like it. I was not a fan of it going in. I've been pushing against this. I actually like the human element in sports. I don't want the full ABS. I don't want full robot umpires calling balls and strikes. But now that I've experienced this, it's not invasive to the game. It doesn't take very long. Umpires are held accountable. That's another reason. The egregious call that they just sometimes just flat out miss. Sure. I mean, even right down the middle, ball. What happened? Your eyes flutter, something. So I love that takes that away. I love that the fans are into it. It's a source of an opportunity, especially in a big moment, to cheer or to get frustrated with the call or the fact that maybe the hitter didn't swing or protect. The one thing that is interesting, and I actually don't know my take on this yet. I want to hear your take. What about the call? What about the call that is just a 1/10 of an inch off that gets overturned, or a 1/10 of an inch on, like the smallest sliver?
Yeah,
so
we've seen a bunch.
We have. It's like, is that a good call? Man, he just missed the. Yeah. So it's a tough one, but a strike's a strike, and it's now defined for the first time, right? It really defined in space. So it's interesting. That call is like, should we really hold the umpire accountable for that? I guess so.
It's a bit of the unintended consequence of even the replay system to begin with. At home plate, the plate isn't raised. So when there's a tag play at the plate and a player's foot didn't actually touch home plate, but it was sliding across the plate. But the first thing that touched was, his hamstring or his buttocks, then that call, he's out on the replay because the cleat was, hovering above home plate. It's a little bit of the unintended consequence. Now I'm going to flip your question a little bit back on you, because in football, I'm going to use that as my guide here. In football, you can't challenge in the final 2 minutes. All challenges originate from the booth. What happens when we get to a ninth inning of a league championship series and the Mariners are out of challenges and there's an egregious miss on a strike 3 to end an inning that's not a strike? Do you think baseball will consider, not this year, but down the road, eliminating ninth inning challenges and going to full ABS in the ninth inning and extra innings? Do you think that would be on the table?
I don't think so. Full ABS to me, I hope not. And I know we kind of talked about this a couple of weeks ago, that adding a challenge maybe could be an option, especially in the playoffs. I don't think full ABS, because again, I think what's going to happen is then you're going to eliminate the value of what the catcher does back there in terms of framing and presenting the pitch to the umpire. I still think that that's a cool kind of artistic, feel to what the catcher is able to do and how they're able to influence the game and what their value is based on. So I hope not. And I don't want to see the full ABS because I'm going to say no on that.
Let me, I'm free thinking here.
Yeah.
What about end of at bat scenarios? Either a ball 4 or a strike 3, full ABS.
That's a good point. You're adding a good caveat to that, because then you can't switch your catcher out of the game at that point. That's my fear with the full ABS, is that they're going to have a left-handed hitting slugger, Daniel Vogelback, going to catch, type of a thing, because it doesn't matter how he presents the pitch to the umpire, just has to catch it.
Right?
I just want to eliminate. I'm with you. I just want to eliminate the bad miss.
Correct.
That was right, well in the vicinity of the home plate, east, west, and north, south. That determines the outcome of a game, and I'm sure people want to see that. I don't know how they're going to rectify that, though, Mike.
Steve Zabin hates the idea that I'm even bringing this to the table, but I would think that Rob Manfred and the smart people that and listen, baseball's done a really good job in their rule changes in the last 5 to 6 years. I mean, everything that they have brought into the game, I think, has worked. I like the runner on second in extra innings. There are baseball purists and just casual fans that can be on either side of the argument, but I think most baseball people like it. Some don't. I get it. But the shift, the bases, the pitch clock, the timer, and now ABS, I think, is still a little bit split, but most baseball people I've heard really like it, including you, and you didn't think you would.
No, I didn't. I know. So what they've been implementing is smart. It's helped the game. It's helped the game gain more popularity. And I love what they do is that they take these ideas and they test them out in the minor leagues first. And they're even testing things out this year in high A or in low A down in the Florida State League. If you, there's kind of some crazy ones, and I should have brought some examples here, but they're testing them out in the minor leagues from the lowest levels. And then the ones that they like, and they think that they're going to be able to implement in Major League Baseball at some point, then they bring them to AAA before they even bring them from A ball to the big leagues. AAA then is the testing ground for it, and then maybe to the big leagues. So they're doing their research. There's a really smart guy named Morgan Sword that is in the commissioner's office for Major League Baseball. Everyone thinks that he's going to be the next commissioner, and he is really sharp with all of this stuff. And you could tell this guy really wants to take care of the game, which is cool to see, because maybe sometimes over the course of our history of the game, like maybe some commissioners, we question whether or not they are actually taking care of the game. But this, I think Rob Manfred has done so with the rule changes, and this guy Morgan Sword's leading that charge.
Yeah, and never forget whatever sport we're talking about, that the commissioner in all sports is beholden to the owners.
Right.
He's employed essentially by them. And that has always been a little bit of the rub. And players have had issues sometimes with commissioners, pick your sport, because they believe that the commissioner is doing the owner's work and not thinking of the betterment of the game. And that's why I loved the rule changes that came in, Vinny, on the anti-shift and even the pitch clock, because I think it made it better for the game, not specifically better for owners. There's some real baseball people that said you just took away one of our great advantages because we were so well positioned defensively and our scouting department did such a fantastic job that the shift, taking it away, you took away our advantages. I love that it's real more traditional baseball in that sense. So I got this question from Mike sent this in. Vinny, do you think in a 3 or 4 game series throughout umpires could hold a grudge? It's human, right? So you have to think about it. His example is Chris Guccione from last year. I don't recall the specific Guccione. Maybe you do. But your thoughts on umpires in a series, and do umpires, they're human too. Do they hold grudges?
100% they hold grudges. Now, do they make the wrong call? That's the do they hold a grudge and not like a person or a manager or a player, but then also make the wrong call? I think it happens because of that grudge, because of that bias. Now, it doesn't happen very often. Chris Guccione, remember it was 2 years ago against the Rays. The Rays were in town. Jake Bauers, it was a drop third strike. Jake Bauers on the backswing, hit the catcher in the helmet. I think it was Ben Rortford behind the plate. Play is called dead. The tying run comes home to tie the game. It was late in the game, and they sent the runner back to third because it's just it's the rule. The ball, and then Chris Guccione and Pat Murphy got into it. He said some really disparaging things. You could read his lips saying some disparaging things right in Pat Murphy's face. But I think that does happen. I think they've made up, and that's what usually happens. A great question. These guys, they're professionals, and we're all kind of in it together, playing the game of baseball. The umpires usually have really good relationships with umpires. Especially as a catcher, I wanted calls. So I think it went the other way for me. I would say, oh, you just missed that, great call. Just stay with me on that one. So I would massage the umpires quite a bit, and I'd actually get calls. So it happens the other way as well. And so, but guys make up. You have to deal with the umpires often. And so you want to make sure that you guys have good relationships. They usually make up. And from everything I've understood about the Chris Guccione, Pat Murphy incident, they have kind of kissed and made up.
Let me ask you about 3 specific Brewers in this opening 6-game stretch. They're 5-1, 3 specific Brewers. These are all offensive stats with the exception of one. Christian Yelich is 8 of 21, hitting .381 with a homer, 7 runs batted in, .435 OPS, .959 or .435 on base percentage, .959 OPS. Bryce Terang is 9 of 22. That's a .409 average, 4 doubles, a homer, 5 runs batted in, 2 stolen bases. His OPS, his on base percentage is .500. His OPS is .1227. And then Joey Ortiz, 6 of 18 at the plate and defense. Those 3 guys out of the gate are a big reason the Brewers are 5-1. One of them not counted on offensively, but what do you see so far from Yelich? And we both have we're both like vying to be president of the Bryce Terang fan club.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't even think Yelich has gotten going. He's not even, and he's hitting .381 right now, and he's taken advantage of some mistakes, but he does such a great job of staying in an at-bat. So now, and the other thing is this is a coordinated attack, right? So from 1 through 9, every single one of these guys is going to drag you to hell, right? And that's the terminology. That's the mindset. And so when you have that, you're going to get more mistakes. And so that's what we've seen with Yelich. Again, I don't think his timing is quite there yet.
Right.
And yet he's still taking advantage of those mistakes. Did so yesterday, a big bases loaded base hit with the drawn in infield. Also had that bunt hit, remember. So when Yelich isn't going great, he was 0 for 2 going into that third at-bat, laid down a great bunt, stayed right on that line, and then the next at-bat, he came through that big base hit. Bryce Terang is on another level. This kid's 26 years old. Brewers have 3 more years of control. You saw that they signed Cooper Pratt, right, to that, or they are. I don't know if it's official yet, but
it hasn't been announced, but yes.
So why did they do that, Mike? Is because of what Bryce Terang's doing right now. I'm sure, without a question in my mind, and I don't know officially, but the fact that they probably tried to extend Bryce Terang, and now it's too late, right? So that's why they did it with Cooper Pratt, who hasn't even stepped foot on a major league field yet in the regular season. They understand that you got to do it earlier and earlier with these guys in order to lock them up. Would they like to have Bryce Terang for the next 7 to 8 years? The way this guy is a game changer, he's going to be able. Not only does he do all the little things that we love about Bryce Terang, so fun to watch, and he's a baseball rat, the instincts off the charts, everything. But now all of a sudden, the offense is getting to a point where he's one of those guys where he could carry you, for a month when he's hot. So that's special. Superstar status is coming for Bryce Terang. So I love where this team is at right now. And it's like we're 6 games in, Vinny. Why do you? Well, because it took them until 7 weeks into the season last year to find their footing, to figure it out. Yeah, and they figured it out. This year, it looks like they've just rolling right in from 2025 into 2026. So they're not going to have to wait 7-8 weeks or whatever to figure things out. They're doing it from game one. Now, are they going to have bumps in the road? Yes, but man, this team looks like just like last year, if not even better, because I think some of the pieces they add to the bullpen.
And they're doing it without their likely number 2 hitter in Jackson Churio and likely number 4 or 5 hitter with Andrew Vaughn at first base. I mean, both not playing, obviously, right now on the injured list. They're doing that. Let me ask you about this upcoming series. Chad Patrick, Sproat, and Harrison will be the 3 starting pitchers for the Brewers as they take on the road at Kansas City. And from there, they'll go to Boston. In the Boston series, they'll go Woodruff and Miz in that series. But give me a sense. Now, obviously, Sproat had a very rough start. Harrison gave up a leadoff homer, but then was brilliant after that. And Patrick's kind of a bulldog. Give me a sense of what the Brewers' 3 starting pitchers will present in the series in Kansas City.
Yeah, so the first thing that stands out to me is just look at the names on that list in this Kansas City series. I mean, you got 3 guys who have not had a full season of Major League starting experience on the mound. And yet the Brewers, again, best team in baseball since May 18th or whatever, 97 plus 5 wins now at this point. So it's 102 wins since that date. Most wins in all baseball. And they're rolling out in the quite arguably the most important piece to a game is their starting pitcher to see how deep, and they're rolling out with those 3 guys. That's it's a little bit, this could be the factor that the team needs to watch this year, right? If the starting staff, if all of a sudden those guys get inconsistent, what's that going to do, Mike? That's going to affect your bullpen, right? So now all of a sudden you have to use your bullpen earlier in the games. It's going to wear those guys out, which will affect you months down the road during the season. So this is the most important kind of like thing to monitor as a fan of watching this team. You have to monitor how these young starters are going to fare. I think Kyle Harrison, I don't think it's going to affect him, the fact that he doesn't have a lot of experience. What we saw the other night, I think that's going to be him. Great. Lefty, talk about bulldog. This kid's also a bulldog with a great fastball. Yeah. Chris Hook and Jim Henderson are teaching him a couple of other things with that changeup, how to get it more consistent in the slurve as well, cleaning up the delivery to boot. Sproat's a little bit of a wild card. The kid could be as good as Corbin Burns. Remember, Corbin Burns was not good his first half of his career in the big leagues. Yeah, first half season, he was bad. He actually got sent down. Hopefully, the learning curve isn't as long for Brandon Sproat because the talent is there. He's got to be able to take it from the bullpen into the game, because I talked to Chris Hook. He said the bullpen before that game was off the chart, one of the best he's seen, like spotting up. And then he took it in the game sped up on him a little bit. He'll figure it out. It just hopefully sooner than later, because again, that is a factor. Even if one guy in their rotation, Mike, isn't going long or goes short a bunch, it's going to affect the team and how they get through innings.
Well, and it did help yesterday that Miz got a quality start. Going 6 innings mattered. And not just that he was brilliant in the 6, gave up the 2-run homer, but after that and before that, nothing. But also that he ate up an extra inning there. Getting through the 6th mattered because the bullpen has worked. I know they have off days, But Murph made a note of it the night before in his post-game session that, 5 innings every night is not going to work for them. It's going to lead to a tired bullpen. And I know it's the second day of April, but that matters.
Still matters.
Yeah.
Maybe especially now in April, right? Because the bullpen arms aren't really even built up yet. They're coming off a long. And remember, this is the other factor people have to remember. They pitched deeper into October than they ever have since 2008. Most of those guys have never pitched that deep into April, right? So I'm sorry, October. So they pitched deep into October last year. So their offseason was shortened. And the history has shown us that relievers that pitch that deep into October are affected the following year. So you definitely early on, this is going to be a thing to monitor for sure. So Sproat's start for sure is going to be one to watch. Chad Patrick could have actually gone longer in his first start.
Sure.
He only went a 4 1/3. That game 3 against the was it game 2 against the White Sox? Yeah. So Murph, I'm hoping that he lets his leash go a little bit. Chad Patrick is one of my favorites to watch, just because of that bulldog factor. He's a Division II baseball player. He's from a small town in Indiana. I love his story. But the guy's a big leaguer. It's not just a story. He's a bona fide major league quality starter, in my opinion, and he's still learning. But hopefully Murph lets the leash out a little bit on Chad Patrick, because he's an important one as well.
Last one for you, and then we'll let you get going. I don't even know what time you guys leave today, but what do you most look forward to? Going to Kansas City and Boston, your first roadie of the year, 2 cities you've been to, obviously, in the league. What is non-baseball? What are you looking forward to on this roadie?
Well, Mike, I got to be honest. I've been to Kansas City as a broadcaster and a scout, never as a player. Nope, I take that back. I did play in Kansas City. Okay. I've scouted in Boston, but never played there and haven't broadcasted there yet. So I'm really looking forward to, and it's a great stadium. I love Fenway. Very cool. The neighborhood feel to it, but that's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be bad, kind of a colder weather, but the crowd is going to be great. Hopefully the Brewers can hang some losses on Boston, who have not been off to a good start. So that'll be fun to maybe see the Boston faithful boo their home, their home team. So that's still baseball related. But it's just calling a game at that historic stadium where Babe Ruth played and Ted Williams. So that's going to be really, really cool.
Good Italian food, I hear, in Boston.
Yeah, Rock told us we got to take a cab and get down to Little Italy. So I think we're going to do that. We actually don't broadcast the game tomorrow. It's going to be on Apple TV.
Okay.
So maybe I'll take a cab down with Levering and get down there or something.
All right. Hey, good stuff. I appreciate. Love having you on our Thursdays. Brought to you by Potawatomi Sportsbook and Casino. Have a great road trip, and we'll visit back at the ballpark next week.
For sure. Thanks, Mike. Best show on X.
Thank you, Vinny. Vinny Rottino joining us on the program as he does Thursdays here, and that time brought to you by Potawatomi Sportsbook and Casino. All right, let me go back on a few of the messages I may have missed that came in on our YouTube chat. This came from John 5216. He said, great interview with Gard. That was yesterday. He said, haters will need to hear and appreciate. So that's, it was my neighbor paying attention to the show. Thank you, John. And then Mike was, sending in a bunch of things. And he asked about whether, if we had our druthers, would you rather have Christian Yelich for 3 more years or Bryce for the next 7 or 8? I don't think it's a one or the other. I don't think if they moved Yelich that it frees up financially the idea of extending Terang. 2 things that I think are important to consider about Bryce Terang, and Vinny brought it up. The extension probably is too late. I don't think the Brewers are going to swim in those financial waters. Now, that's what I think, not necessarily what's going to happen, but I don't believe that the Brewers will swim in that financial pool that Bryce Terang is going to be playing in a couple of years from now. They know what his value is today, but they know what his value can be when he plays out into his free agent year in Milwaukee. And they're betting on him. His agent and Bryce, I believe, outside looking in, that they're betting on what they will be. Not just can be, but will be. Hard to do in certain sports, a little less difficult in baseball if you believe in your process. And I think Bryce Terang, listen, I said this before the season began, and I didn't do it, but I said it with Potawatomi. Their futures on Bryce Terang were, if I'd have put $100 down on him to win MVP, and if he won National League MVP when the season was done, 100 would be 10,000. I think Bryce Terang is that caliber of player, and that caliber of player at 28 entering into free agency is going to get all the money, all of the money. And when a guy gets all of the money, Milwaukee's not playing in that game. And that rubs people the wrong way, but that's the math. That's the financial math. That's the reality. That's the truth. That's what happens. So I don't think that if they moved Yelich in the offseason, not sure what Yelich has great value as a trade deadline piece. So let me rephrase this. If the Brewers were a non-factor at the trade deadline, I believe Yelich would be coveted at the trade deadline from other teams who want a guy that has had great experience, and they know he's not going to be an everyday guy, but he's a DH or however that part works. But that's not going to be the case, not by what we've seen in the first week of Brewers baseball. They are going to be relevant at the trade deadline. They are going to be relevant beyond the trade deadline. I think this is a really good franchise. I'm never going to be fooled by any 6-game stretch, because if they went 1-5, I don't think they will, but if they went 1-5 on this road trip, I'm not sold out on who the Brewers, I thought they were really good and now they suck. There is a nature and an ebb and flow to Major League Baseball seasons that sometimes produce, not sometimes, all the time, produce an ebb and a flow, a roller coaster effect to a season. So the Brewers are 5-1. They played a bad White Sox team. And I don't know how good Tampa Bay will be. I mean, by history, they're going to be pretty good because they always are. That they're 5-1 out of the gate, you don't have to give them back. It's really good. But there's going to also be a 6-game stretch in which they're 1-5 or 0-6 at some point, because that's what baseball does to you. It's a 162-game grind over six months and a couple of weeks, and then into October. So I love who they are right now. I don't know that, they're going to get 2 acquisitions coming up here relatively soon when Jackson Chourio and Andrew Vaughn return to the mix. But they've been really good without them. So everything is good right now. Let's see what the road trip, no game today. They'll be in Kansas City for the weekend 3-game set, and then in Boston to begin next week. What a fun and fast moving show again today with a longer form interview with Vinny. And I love doing that. Let me go back to thanking our sponsors because it's important to us. One Community Bank is our newest presenting sponsor. And they brought in, they had some people that stopped by from One Community Bank to Red and White, a certain wine and bourbon bar that my wife and I spend a lot of time at on Main Street in Wanakee. They stopped in, had a little post-work visit yesterday, and I got a chance to talk with them, and I appreciate them. A modern, progressive, forward-leaning bank focused on serving clients, supporting our colleagues, and investing in our communities, and that's what they've done with us, and I'm very thankful for that because they've invested into I Love Mondays. I Love Mondays also presented by M3 Insurance. Go to m3insurance.com, and presented by our friends at Neuroscience Group, neurosciencegroup.com, spine and pain and neuro care for your needs, neurosciencegroup.com. And presented in part, as Thursdays are presented by Potawatomi Sportsbook and Casino. That's why and how Vinny joins the show. And also by Habish, and Rotier. your personal injury attorneys. So we've come to the end of another hour. Please share the podcast with your friends, those who are like-minded and sports fans in and around Wisconsin, or just about Wisconsin sports. They don't have to be here, but this is a connection. I heard from a lifetime friend of mine, John, in Virginia yesterday, and he loved the Greg Gard interview. And it's transplants that have left here and gone other places that are many times the podcast listeners. But if they don't know about it, please share with them. It's their connection back to the Packers, Brewers, Badgers, and Bucks. I didn't mention the Bucks today. Sorry. But share this podcast, support our sponsors, share this podcast, whether it's a YouTube subscription or wherever you download your podcast, to share that link, or watching live on X. That's how we grow, and that's how we make this even bigger and better, and we appreciate your support all the way through it. We'll come back and do this thing again tomorrow. I don't even know who's all included in tomorrow's show, but it is a Friday. So when I do a Friday show, I didn't last week, but I will tomorrow. There will be bourbon to end the show. Maybe not even just to end the show, maybe throughout the show. I don't know. I got other stuff going on tomorrow. I can't have too many bourbons, but I will have a bourbon promised during the show tomorrow. We'll talk to you Friday. Thanks for being here again today. I appreciate your support of the program, and we'll talk again tomorrow. I Love Mondays. The Friday edition is less than 23 hours away.
I Love Mondays with Mike Heller.